we'll go ahead and get started. Team, if you guys want to go first, and then Michael, you can go next, and just kind of start by just a short introduction, your name and who you're with, and then go into whatever you want to talk about today.
Okay. Great,
thank you. This morning, I'm going to give our time to Naomi, who's serving in a closed access country, and so she's just going to go by her first name, and I'll let her take the time to share about her ministry.
Yeah, so I'm going to be representing Team just by giving you a little slice of one area where Team is working. They are global, and their mission is to partner with the global church in sending disciples who make disciples and establish missional churches to the glory of God. So sounds great, but what does that look like in a practical way? How does that play out, especially in a hard to reach area such as where I am at? So I thought I'd just share about one country in particular in one area to give you a better idea. So obviously, being a closed country, most of the citizens do identify as Muslim, but that's not the whole picture. And in fact, in doing some research, I found a survey in 2018 of those citizens who identified Muslim. Over 50% of them said they weren't actually practicing or were considered themselves religious. So it was more just a title, something they used. So they're obviously seeking, and in fact, the same survey showed that they're exploring a lot of other religions right now. But there's not a lot of opportunity to, because especially when it comes to Christianity, there's only one Christian gathering for every 500 mosques in the country. Along with the fact that Islamic teaching happens in all of the education, but any sort of Christian teaching, traditional evangelical outreach, all of those things are not allowed by the government. So it really makes it difficult. So really the question we, as an organization, have to ask, how do we, reach people with salvation, with transformation in these circumstances? So I thought I would share some pictures along with giving you some information about one particular city. So if it's all right, I'm going to share my screen. All right. So in this one particular city, it's a city that attracts a lot of people from around the country. As you can see, it's pretty beautiful. It also attracts a lot of international visitors. And in fact, it's the fastest growing region in the entire country. And through this, God has provided multiple ways for Christian volunteers to be able to create legal organizations that provide outreach. One of these main outreaches is a community center where national citizens and people from at least 10 other countries are able to provide outreach and meet needs through things such as English conversation groups, mom and toddler play groups, concerts, exercise classes, even a startup international school. And it also obviously provides a place for Christians to meet and worship and discipleship. And it's happening in 4 different languages currently just in this one building. And perhaps most importantly, it's a place for those seeking to come and ask questions. They have a place that they can comfortably ask those questions they can't find out anywhere else. And in fact, land for a second community center has been purchased. It's near a large university, and construction will begin next year on it. So we're pretty excited about that. But there's a lot more than just these social outreaches happening in the city. So some of the other things we're doing are a 2-week sports and Bible camp for national and international youth, ages 8 to 18, which is staffed mostly by U.S. college student volunteers. There's also discipleship and church planning training for internationals so they can return to serve in their home countries, many of which are even more restrictive than where I am. There's also a Christian counseling center that serves not only local nationals and internationals, but it also people from around surrounding countries come in to get counseling there. And there's also things like a cafe and coffee shop. You can see serves some pretty yummy things, including they serve locally roasted coffee. And it, in fact, one of their newest additions to their locally roasted coffee is a new in-town coffee roastery that provides cupping and brewing classes as a way to form relationships with those interested in the country's growing third wave coffee movement. So these outreaches, they've helped locals, obviously, but also people from around the world and around the country to hear the gospel. Locally, the national church has grown in about the last 10 years from 20 people meeting together to 4 congregations and 200 adults, and with national leadership. So it's pretty amazing to see that growing. And this is just obviously the local impact to what's happened globally and throughout the country. It's hard to even like gauge that. But the biggest thing is that all of these outreaches require volunteers, short-term, mid-term, long-term. So, you know, there's more than just the traditional church planning. You know, there's the opportunity to use just the fact you're an English speaker, the fact that you maybe have a gifting or a hobby in sports and arts to, you know, share Christ's love. And there's even the opportunities to use your profession, whether you're a barista, an educator, a licensed counselor, and you just want to go explore international work. You definitely can go ahead and contact Team, because this is obviously just one little snippet, one city, what's happening, of what Team is doing. So I've thrown up Jerome's email there. He's sort of the local representative, and you can go ahead and send him an email if you're interested. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Naomi. Can you talk a little bit about what student involvement or volunteer work would look like, kind of in terms of COVID? Like, has that changed a lot? Are you expecting it to still be changing things in the next year or so?
Well, I mean, initially, yes, it did change things, especially when the level 4. But since then, the levels have gone down. The area I'm in, the level has gone down in the United States. So they are gearing back up. So that involvement, and usually wherever the short-term students are going, the people locally have a good gauge on that. And so, yeah, they're ramping that back up, and people, we're planning for next summer to hopefully be able to run, things like normal.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that you think students would really need to know before shifting gears to Michael?
In terms of that, I don't know if Jerome can speak to maybe the process happening here in the States before they come. I know I do help with the volunteers coming to my area. And so we do a process of, I make sure I meet them on Zoom and we talk, and I have different resources to send them, including just some basic language helps. And we just really make sure we orient them and provide a way for them to know what they're going to be experiencing when they come, from the moment they step, off their first, even during their plane adventures, however many planes it takes to get to us. So yeah, and if Jerome has anything to add to that.
Well, you did a great job, Naomi, explaining, and just I'd love to chat with you if you as a student you want to explore, somewhere in the world where you could plug in to see if this might be something that God is calling you to, even if it's just for a few weeks or if it's for a lifetime. So love to have that conversation. And another way that you can join us is just by going to team.org and putting an inquiry in there. And I cover Texas as well as a number of other states kind of more in the West. And so I or a colleague would be getting your inquiry. So look forward to talking to you.
All right, thank you, team. Michael, do you want to get started?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Michael Wells. I'm GEM's Texas Regional Mobilizer. So my job is to recruit people to go, to give, and to pray. One of my main emphasis in Texas is church engagement. So most of my work is getting churches more involved in helping them and serving them. We want to see the church's mission statement be fulfilled, and so we're here to help them fulfill that. And so GEM is a 70-year-old organization. that's passionate about making disciples and growing God's church in Europe to the rest of the world. That's everything points towards that. And so all the missions we do, whether it's short-term or career-long and everything in between, will have that bend. It'll always be about making disciples and growing God's church. And if it isn't, we don't do it. So we're passionate about that. GEM has currently around 400 plus missionaries all over Europe and about 28 countries. Changes constantly. So they're spread out pretty wide. We have about 1,200 supporting churches that help us. And then we have about 17,000 ministry partners that are all across the world. GEM, like I said, it does short-term missions. So we have everything under a year for us is considered short-term service. And then we have our teams that are, a week or two long. We do that often, and we do that often with students. We also have within that short-term service, we have our 10-2 program, which is catered specifically for college students. So this last summer, we were supposed to have about 100 students just get scattered all over Europe, and we were excited about that. And instead, we did what we called 10-2 Breathe, and it was just an online version of our 10-2 program. So we still did our spiritual formations, we did our discipleship training, we did a lot of, we did some cross-cultural stuff to try and help them engage in that way. And it was actually a really neat thing, something that we've learned that we will do for people who might have internships that they need to be a part of in the summers and things like that, but still want to engage in missions in their local context. And so we still want to do that. So it was a blessing in disguise in some ways that we got to do that. So we had about 80 college students go through that. And that was really exciting for us. But the 10-2 program typically looks like it's a 10-week program that typically the first week to 10 days is a training that everyone's together. This last year we had a big enough group that we were going to have to do that. 2 groups delayed, so half at each week, where you just gather together, you worship, you do your trainings, you get to know each other, you build team, you get to know about GEM, you get to know all kinds of stuff. It's kind of drinking from a fire hose, and then we launch it out to one of this summer was about 10 locations where you partner alongside some of our career-long missionaries. And so you're helping them with the current needs. Some of them are at our camps. We have a camp in Larcata, Spain. We have a camp in the French Alps that we do summer camps at. And so we have a orphanage that we work with in Romania. So there was all kinds of different types of journeys that you could be on during the summer. And so they spread out and helped with that. And then at the end of the summer, we would gather back together and celebrate what God did at our annual conference. So every year, GEM does an annual conference. And so it's really neat because 10-2ers, the students, get to engage with all of our missionaries in person. You get to ask questions, you get to see what the Lord's doing all over Europe in one place. And so it's a huge benefit for students that they get to do that, that they get access to our missionaries. We're very protective of our missionaries' time. So it's rare that in our process, you get to talk with a missionary pretty quickly unless you have a personal relationship with one. And so this is a way that it's totally natural for you to meet all different kinds of people and really see what's going on and hear of things. And so that's a fun moment. And so we do that annual conference, and then we bring you back home. So it's a summer-long program that we love. We launched it 2 years ago. We've seen the Lord really bless it, and it's all based off of the Luke 10:2 verse is, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So pray to the Lord of the harvest for more laborers. And so that's our goal. We want to see career-long missionaries. We think that's most effective. And the way that you get there is you come and see, and you have mountaintop moments, and we want to help you get there to the mountaintop where God really engages you and calls you out. So that's the purpose of the 10-2. We have midterm trips. Those are 2 to 3. A lot of times that's people who aren't sure if they want to do career long, and they get to make a commitment of 2 to 3 years. And others, it's maybe a gap year or sabbaticals and different things of that nature that will put them in that time slot. And then the last is long-term. The 3 places we really, like I said, push people to engage in is go, give, and pray. And I always have I always encourage people, as you're thinking about missions and just living missionally, you should probably master in one of those and minor in the other. You should master in going and giving and praying, one of those areas, and you should minor in another. You should definitely be doing all three, but one of them should be your focus. And so our going missionaries, our career-long missionaries, can't go without people who master in giving. That's how we have missionaries in the field, and also who master in praying. That's the biggest part of our ministry. We're hoping to raise up 75,000 prayer partners in the next few years that are engaging with us in prayer weekly. Another little bit I wanted to read about is just the different areas of ministry that we have. We have refugee ministry right now. You can be praying for Lesbos, Greece. The Camp Moria was burned down during this time, and it's chaos on the island. The second biggest city was the camp, and all of those people now are homeless. And so 13,000 refugees on an island, that's almost half the population, are just scattered around the island. And so just be praying that the discipleship that all the ministries of all of those people on the island are doing is working and being effective. It's really neat that it's sad that this happened, but it's neat to see disciples that we've discipled beginning to hand out water and food and shelter in the name of Jesus versus just because. And so God's really using it still, but be praying for that. We have music and arts, social justice and anti-trafficking, community development, discipleship and evangelism, construction, technology, education, marketplace ministries, sports ministries, administrative, young adults, and church planning. And so the Jem is passionate about finding the gifts and passions that you have and trying to leverage those for making disciples and growing God's church in Europe. So we do the best we can to do that.
Well, great. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that you guys want to add? Or Kristen, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I'm just so thankful to hear what your organizations are doing and what God has been doing in and through you. It's just encouraging, inspiring to hear. My name's Kristen. I serve as the coordinator of recruitment here at Baylor's Truett Seminary. So I wanted to just say thank you for being a part of BU Missions, for sharing what you do. Appreciate all of what God is doing and what God is preparing to do by bringing some of the students you're connecting with today to your organizations, hopefully. So that's, yeah. But I can talk more about Truett or whatever you want me to do, Kat. You just let me know.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I thought you were a student. Your little picture looks so young. Okay, yes. Well, thank you, one, for being here. I'm so sorry I didn't realize that. Yeah, if you just want to talk about really anything that you think students would want to know about serving or the background or anything like that, this is just kind of an informal time to really share some of the more specifics that maybe wouldn't fit in like a normal live session. So yes, wherever you want to take it.
Okay, well, thanks. Yeah, I serve as the coordinator of recruitment here at Truett. And I mean, really, we exist to equip God-called people for gospel ministry in and alongside Christ Church, which is what all of these organizations are doing, right? They're doing gospel ministry in and alongside Christ Church. So if you go to do an internship, or if you decide you're going to do a mission trip, and you feel God just pulling at your heart and you want to know more, you want to study, you want to go deeper into scripture, and really see if this calling on your heart can extend beyond just a 2-week mission trip or maybe even a 1-year experience, I would really recommend you consider looking at graduate theological education and at Truett Seminary. I love to talk with students about what God's doing in their lives and in their hearts to see if this may be the next step for them. And so, I mean, yeah, as you're going through the BU Missions event, I'm going to be praying for you. And I would just ask that you approach all the conversations and what you're hearing with an open mind and open heart. And then come find me, come talk to me. I'm here on campus. I am available for you. If you want to pray together, if you want to talk about what Truett has to offer and what we do and how we can help prepare you for what you may be discerning, whatever God's calling you to do. after you graduate from Baylor. So I'm right here on campus. I'll probably see some of you today as I go to lunch and walk across campus. But I'm so thankful for BU Missions and how they're investing in all of your lives and all the students' lives, and what they're doing to, again, help prepare you and deepen your walk with Christ, and opportunities for you to do that as well. So I'm going to be doing a Connected Live session this afternoon, and I'd love to talk with students more about degrees that we offer, significant scholarships that we offer. We never want finances to be a reason why you can't come to seminary. So I do want to talk to anyone interested in learning more about all of those things, as well as just about the heart of who we are at Truett and what we do. So I don't know how much time we have to go into more of that, but Kat, I'll let you.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes if you have something else you want to say, or if you want to save it for the live session, that's fine too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for those of you who can't come to the live session today, number one, you can always stop by Truett. My office is in the first floor. Just pop in anytime. I'd love to have coffee with you or visit. You can also schedule an individual virtual appointment with me, and I can talk with you virtually that way. We also have a preview event coming up just for Baylor students, October 13th. It's a dinner. It's a nice dinner. You'll get to meet some faculty and staff. We're still definitely aware of wanting to uphold all of the COVID-19 regulations, so that'll be a part of that. But we'd love to have you visit and learn more, either at the Connected Live session today, or at a time that works best for you in between class schedule and work and all the other things you've got going on in the students' busy lives. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, if there are any other thoughts from anyone, now's the time. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. We've loved hearing from you.
I forgot to mention, teams did it great at the end of their presentation, but if you're interested, go to gemission.org and inquire there. I'll put in the chat, I'm not sure if that's captured in the recording, of some resources that you can look at online.
Yeah, I'll make sure, if it doesn't show up in the recording, I'll make sure it's in the description.
And we'll have a half hour tomorrow live, and so if students want to join and talk more, then that'd be wonderful.